Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
For Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to Monday. Woo! The big weekend's over for me, Kastuba.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
The big weekend's over for me.
It was a big weekend?
Well, it was Sachi's 18th birthday, my daughter's 18th birthday, filled with festivities and celebration, and we had like a big vegan pizza party for her yesterday. Mara made everything wonderful.
Oh.
Vegan cheesecake. Yeah, Mara really showed up.
Oh, great.
But it was unbelievable. Just it's unbelievable. The passing of time. Quite unbelievable. It's only a moment ago.
Passing of time.
Passing the time.
18. Your work is done.
18, and she's still nice to me.
That's pretty good.
Sometimes they're not nice at 18. Sometimes they want nothing to do with you at 18. That happens. It's a very real phenomenon.
You made it.
I know. We wanted nothing to do with our parents at 18. I'm speaking for you, but but I think it's true. We sort of we're over it.
I was out there.
I don't know if it's biological, whatever. Parents start to hate themselves at this point of their life. Sometimes they feel, what have I done so wrong?
Well,
feeling that struggle with people, huh?
Yeah, it can be like hell on earth, and that's kind of our theme for today.
Yeah, hell on earth. It is the theme, and applying transcendental knowledge. I had some parents again complain to me, like, my son will not speak to me. For no, we've jumped through so many hoops, climbed so many mountains for this kid, so his life could be idyllic, and he will not speak to us.
Hell on earth.
Hell on earth. It's the ultimate betrayal. And so, what do you do when there is some type of tragedy in life or incredible pain? Well, you blend it in with wisdom literature, and that's what we do every day here. If you're new to the show, welcome. This is Wisdom of the Sages. We do this every day. So you want to dive into the nuggets? Miss Mara is MIA. Where's Miss Mara?
Took off right when we need her. What's going on?
Yeah, I know. She'll
be
back. She's juggling a lot of stuff today.
Okay, we'll do the announcements later.
She's okay. She had to go get her very important yarn. The hell?
We have back to recovery group meetings at 1 and 2 p.m. and also at 2:30 a.m. on Tuesday, Eastern time.
Okay.
Also making a big announcement. We're doing a one-day event with the spiritual scientist. You know him from previous podcasts. Real intellectual brain. If you got one of those doubting, skeptical minds, come on up. Come on up for a day of yoga, prashad, and kirtan and spiritual scientist, hosted by me and he on May 20th at Super Soul Farm. Email Mara at Super Soul Training, right? Super Soul Trainings with an S. Super Soul Trainings at gmail.com. to jump on that, and space is limited. So email today.
Okay.
All right.
Nugget. Let's hear it. Who you got?
Oh, you get some good nuggets, my friends. Hell on Earth. I love this one. Another crucifix song. They were the best. Okay. This is from Friedrich Holderlin.
Yeah.
That was my poor German accent. Okay, there's three nuggets.
German
It's a three
poet and
nuggets.
philosopher.
Okay. There's two nuggets. Ready? Friedrich Holderlin. He says, what has always made a hell on earth has been that man has tried to make it heaven.
His
Ooh.
heaven.
Yeah. He's tried to make it his heaven. That's a little even
a little
more
nuanced,
poignant. We tried to make it his heaven. And generally it's at the expense of everything and everyone else. Right?
Well, that's the only way it works, right? Because we all have, if you take all the resources, it's no longer heaven for me. If I'm going to make it my heaven, I kind of have to, at least I think that way. I fear, that there's that fear. But yeah, and there's a second nugget that's closely related to this.
C.S. Lewis. We love him. I would have liked him as a person, I think.
Do you think so?
I think so. I think he would have liked me a lot too.
I think you would have been best friends.
Ever think like that? Like, would I be friends with people from the old days? Would they like me?
From the old days.
Yeah, like would George Washington like get him out
He's
of
like, I fought for this.
Put him in the what do they call the prison in the old days? The dockets or the stockade or something.
Yeah.
Or he'd be like, Raghunath, he could be one of our captains. I like him.
Worth it. It was worth it to fight for this guy.
C.S. Lewis said, I think Earth, if chosen instead of heaven, will turn out to have been all along only a region in hell. Ooh.
Okay.
I think Earth, if chosen instead of heaven, will turn out to have been all along only a region of hell.
And
if is this also from C.S. Lewis?
Yeah, that's one thing.
Oh, okay, because it skips a line in your message.
I was trying to put it out. I wanted you to read it in such a way where you emphasize the right things and pause at the right times and all that.
Thank you. You're so good. You're so good. Like, okay, look, Rockinghall's not so bright here.
But I actually worked against
give him a long space bar, skip a line so he can inhale and exhale.
You saw how I put instead all in capitals? So that
yes, I see that. Okay, let me read this from the top, people. Ready? I think Earth, if chosen instead of heaven, will turn out to have been all along only a region in hell. And Earth, if put second to heaven, to have been from the beginning a part of heaven itself.
Okay.
And Earth, if put
in other words, is Earth heaven or is it hell? Well, it has to do with our attitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're going into this whole long chapter. The force of material enjoyment, which sounds like a lot of negative stuff, right? It's going to just be saying, you know what, your family becomes hell. Trying to earn money becomes hell. Like at every step, this world becomes hell. You're hearing this whole thing, and you're like, "Oh my God, is this your?"
Why isn't this uplifting, sir? Why can't this be? Give me some positive inspiration for the day. Why are we doing it like this? Why does the Bhagavatam lay it out like this?
And this is what I'll say. Why? Is because, they have this, and we've talked about this on the show a long time ago. We had one show, but about like this 3D art.
Oh, that you stare at it and then you don't see anything. All of a sudden it pops.
Yeah. Now that there's a name for that type of art. It's called audio stereograms.
Oh yeah.
Okay? Auto stereograms. In order to view that kind of art and to see the 3D image, if you just look at it with your regular vision, it just looks like
a big mess, sort of.
It's a big mess. You can't. There's nothing to see. Nothing valuable to see, right?
Yeah.
But you have to. And did you know this, Raghunath, that if you have like only one eye, or if you look at it with only one eye, you'll never see the 3D image.
That is so unfair for the single-eyed people.
Well, they're gonna that's another thing they have to live with. The eye patch, the pirate thing, as well as not being able to properly see 3D art.
Truthfully, the eye patch is the best thing going for
Okay, that may
single-eyed
be the best
people
thing.
because I think
So-
it's
okay,
there's
but
a little swarthiness when you have an eye
Okay.
patch, like Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz doesn't have one. It's another guy down there.
Oh, no, not Ted.
Yeah,
Ted Cruz
it's
have the eye patch? No,
another Texan
another Texas senator,
congressman or
yeah.
something. But it requires both eyes. Okay. And it requires the right way of looking at it, right? They give instructions for it, like to see it, you have to concentrate on a point that's in the middle of the picture, and you have to kind of relax your eyes and look through the picture, right?
Yeah.
Like as if there's a point behind the picture.
Mm.
And then once you notice that, then it just emerges, like what was hidden there suddenly comes into focus very clearly, and you're seeing it easily. And other
Mm.
people are looking at it, I don't see it. And you're like, come on, man, it's right there, you know?
We're all walking around with one eye patch on, trying to see a 3D image. That's what's
Yeah,
going on. Krishna removes the eye patch. Is this where you're going with this?
Well, what I'm saying, Raghunath, is that when we hear this whole chapter of super negativity, that's there. Like material pessimism is one eye, and spiritual optimism is another eye.
Super
Why are you laughing?
negativity. It gets me.
What?
Nothing. Go.
Okay. So material pessimism is one eye, and this chapter is going to give us that eye.
Mm.
You know, spiritual optimism is another eye, and when you have both those eyes, you can get the proper focus, and you can see this world.
Oh, I
The
like that a
messages
lot.
that are meant
I
to-
like this.
You like that?
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Spiritual optimism, material cynicism.
Oh, cynicism. Okay.
Cynicism.
Yeah,
It's not
but-
negativity. It's like
Oh, yeah.
negativity means everything's wrong. Everything's wrong. It's just sort of like that's just cynicism means you're seeing. You're examining. It's not just like it's all wrong. You're trying to see. I don't know. Maybe they are the same.
No, it's like it's called stereoscopic depth perception when you're looking at that 3D art, right?
Yeah.
Stereoscopic depth perception. It'll kick in if you view it in the right way. If you're viewing it with both eyes and viewing it in the right way, the message, the image that you're meant to see emerges.
Mm.
Now there's we're going to read a whole chapter that's going to make it sound like this world is hell, right?
Yeah.
But there's other, we're also hearing from the same texts and from the acharyas the great teachers who represent those texts. Another message, like there's one often quoted verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati, great, brilliant poet and great teacher of bhakti, right? And he says, Vishram Purna Sukhayate. You've heard that one before, Vishram Purna Sukhayate. Sound familiar?
I'm trying to do the Sanskrit translation. Vishwapurna, the entire universe,
Sukhayate.
is happy. It's good.
Yeah. You feel happy, like this whole. It's saying this is the experience of one who's well situated in bhakti. That this world, this Vishram, the universe, Purna, completely Sukhayate, feelings of happiness. Right? It's filled. This world. One's experience of this world is that it's filled with joy. So is it hell or is it heaven? So then we can go back to our nuggets today. What makes and as Frederick Holderlin says, what has always made a hell on earth has been that man has tried to make it his heaven. If I'm trying to see this without the proper focus, then it's going to keep it's going to keep responding with pain in different ways, and where C.S. Lewis, he kind of gives a deeper clue here, right? I think that if we choose this earth instead of heaven, in other words, if we choose to make this world, the purpose of this world is meant to be a paradise for us. If that's how I'm relating, this world should be my paradise. It's going to be nothing but hell for us, right? But he says, but if it is put second to heaven, in other words, if I see this in relation to some deeper spiritual experience, right? Then even as I'm in this world, it becomes heaven because I'm seeing through those eyes, or I'm seeing with that focus or that vision. You know, and so what's happening in this chapter is you don't need to speak this way to someone who's already enlightened, right? You don't need to highlight the negative side of material life so thoroughly to someone who already gets it. But to someone who's seeing it with only one eye, they need to hear this perspective. Now, this message was spoken to the King Rahugan, who's being carried on a palanquin, you know, by servants, living in opulence, trying to enjoy this world. You need another perspective. You need that second eye, and we all do. I think we all do. We shouldn't walk away here in this chapter saying, "My God, the world is horrible." In many ways, it is horrible. In many ways, it's not. But we need both of those visions, both the material cynicism or pessimism, as well as the spiritual optimism, to get the right focus and to move forward. And then the messages that we're meant to understand, they'll crystallize in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I think it's important to say, because if you're new to this and hearing this, it's like, wait a second, what am I opting into with this group that I'm getting into, this Krishna stuff? Everything is miserable. I don't need that in my life. My life's already miserable right now. If you're listening like that,
miserable. That's the
if
point.
you're, and I'm trying to find some podcast to make it happy,
Okay.
right? If that's where you're at, let me tell you this. Krishna consciousness starts to immediately raise your consciousness to sattva guna. And just practicing bhakti, you have to regulate your senses. You have to let go of bad habits. Those aren't even spiritual things. That just it just assists you to taking little baby steps to sattva guna.
Yeah.
For some people, they are letting go of intoxicants. They're letting go of junk food, or eating refined or meat, or some people too much unneeded medication, regulating their sleeping, upgrading their friendships, upgrading their life in so many different ways. That's the preliminaries to step into your spiritual life. And immediately you'll find, when giving up these tamasic things, these things in the mode of goodness, life becomes immediately more happy. So don't think this is a movement of negativity. It's not at all. Matter of fact, you'll feel so much better as you apply this stuff to your life. One time I went to a devotee that I really respect, and I said, yeah, the material world. I played one of these negative sides, the cynical sides. I said something like, how would you phrase this? Like, the material world is miserable. He said, you know what? Phrase it like this: we are meant to experience joy. And I thought, oh yeah. He goes, because we're spirit souls, and spirit souls are blissful by nature. We are meant to experience joy. As you practice Krishna consciousness, you will naturally run into joy again and again. Why? Because it's our very nature to be joyous. So when I explain this to people, I emphasize the joy. But sometimes people were so, like, because he was saying, like a king, people have so much good going on. You got to just show them a little bit of the dark side of things. You got to analyze the material world's pain, and
even if we
sober
don't
them up
have
a little.
Servants carrying our palanquin, there's a hope that I will find happiness through material enjoyment.
Sure.
It's gonna, like this. We read this, and even reading this, it may sound like, oh, whoa, this is just too much. But the fact is, right? I'm sure a lot of our listeners, let's put it this way: at any moment, at any point in our lives, almost all of us go through some deep struggle where the world seems very dark, right?
Yeah.
Where there seems to be no happiness that I can find, And if you just look at this world and what we go through, disease, economic struggles, there's taxes, and then getting caught cheating on my taxes. There's car accidents, there's war, there's all kind of physical injuries that we go through, and there's mental health breakdowns, and there's romantic heartbreaks, and
eye patches,
broken marriages, eye patches, broken friendships,
betrayal,
the death of a loved one.
Yeah. Mouthy kids,
workplace stresses related to our education,
driving kids back and forth, feeling like, what am I doing with my life? What happened to me?
Your personal ones.
What happened to me? What happened to my
Yeah, there's all kind of worry and heartbreak in raising children. There's, sexually things, am I attractive? Am I not? Unwanted pregnancies, addictions, growing old. I mean, the world is just
Sometimes you
full
start
of-
to ever do this when you'll start to analyze your own body. Like, am I getting a chubby tricep? Or my breasts too pointy? Sometimes I look in the mirror and I was like, my pointy breasts, are those normal?
So there are all kind of, what do you think the cancer rate is for Americans? Or like what percentage of Americans will be diagnosed with cancer at some point during their lifetime?
I think it's high. I don't know. It seemed like heart attack was like a number one problem, and it seems like cancer's taking the
Heart
lead.
disease.
Yeah.
39.5% of men and women will be diagnosed with cancer at some point during their lifetimes, based on
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you.
Right. So, and that's, you go through that. It's tough. You go through the treatment of it. It's tough. Maybe you die from it.
God, Stuba, why am I hanging out with you this morning?
Well, but this is the point. I'm just trying to share that one eye. You need to look at it that way. You need to say, this is not meant to be my heaven. This is meant to be where I learn everything I need to learn, right? Where I understand everything I need to understand.
Yeah, this is school. This is university.
Yeah,
we're in the university right now.
That's right. That's right. It's not the paradise. It's the university. What am I meant to learn? How am I meant to learn it? Let's stay focused on that. And so that's what's happening in this chapter. It's one chapter that's going to sound really negative, but it's just part of the vision that we need. It's not the entire vision. It's part of it's one eye, not both eyes.
It's one eye.
Yeah.
It's nice. Yeah, that's where we're going to go in this chapter. So if you're joining us for the first time, there's a lot of other cantos with a lot of other good news. But for this chapter, are we going to zoom through it, or are we going to
I think we could move relatively quickly through it.
Now that we're fully prepared. Thank you for that full preparation.
Thank you.
The material world as the great forest of enjoyment. It actually sounds great. In that
it starts
like, oh, great. Woohoo. The forest of enjoyment.
But the word forest is meant to give us a clue. Like, we might have said jungle, in other words.
Well, if you're thinking about like, oh, I live in the city, I could go for like a nice state park, maybe like the forest of enjoyment or something, or the Grand Canyon, or it sounds like a nature preserve.
My wife is into some of those nature shows,
Is she?
Yeah,
I'm into nature videos.
Yeah, you're in a certain genre of nature videos.
Yeah,
and there's one guy. There's a British guy. He's really huge in England. What's his name? The David, the guy that does those nature videos. David Attenborough.
Okay.
I think people in England all know him. And I don't know if it was a David Attenborough one or another one, but they showed like this British guy going like into the jungle, right?
Jungles are scary.
It was like after a few days, like the guy just looked horrible. He's like, I can't take this anymore. It's like, there's mosquitoes and there's the heat and there's snakes,
red
and
ants and piranhas, and
you're getting rashes and and it's just like, oh my God, this place is hell.
Crazy
like, get me out of here. So
quicksand.
Yeah. So this chapter is meant to be like that. That's the forest of enjoyment. You think it's enjoyment, but actually, my God, it's suffering everywhere I turn.
Imagine being one of those Lewis and Clark. You just come to a different country and you just got to explore it, and you just don't even know
what you're gonna see,
what beasts you're gonna see out there.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Okay,
all right, my friend,
hit it. Text one. So this is new chapter 14 of the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam.
Rainam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam madhirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavate naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurun Midatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. My teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Text 1. The narrators are speaking. When King Pricket asked Sukadeva Goswami about the direct meaning of the material forest, Sukadeva Goswami replied as follows. My dear king, a man belonging to the mercantile community is always interested in earning money, right? You're a shop owner.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he enters the forest to acquire some cheap commodities like wood and earth and sell them in the city at a good price. Similarly, the conditioned soul, being greedy, enters this material world for some material profit. Gradually, he enters the deepest part of the forest, not really knowing how to get out, right? It's really complicated, isn't it? Once you get into like, how can I save stuff and create? It's amazing. Having entered in the material world, the pure soul becomes conditioned by the material atmosphere, which is created by the external energy under the control of Vishnu. Thus, the living entity comes under the control of the external energy, Daivi Maya. Living independently and bewildered in the forest, he does not attain the association of devotees who are always engaged in the service of the Lord. Once in the bodily conception, he gets different types of bodies, one after the other, under the influence of the material energy and impelled by the modes of nature, Rajaguna, Sattvaguna, Tamoguna. And is impelled by the modes of material nature. In this way, the conditioned soul goes sometimes to heavenly planets, sometimes to earthly planets, sometimes to lower planets and lower species.
This is our journey.
This is our journey. Whew. Thus, he suffers continuously due to different types of bodies. These sufferings and pains are sometimes mixed, and sometimes they are severe, and sometimes they are not, right? Sometimes we're not experiencing any pain right now, and everything's good. And then sometimes it's the worst. Yeah. Everything's falling apart. These bodily conditions are acquired due to the conditioned soul's mental speculation. I don't know what that means by that, but he uses his mind and 5 senses to acquire knowledge, and these bring out the different bodies and different conditions. So
I think, you know, what it says about these sufferings and pains sometimes are severe. What was that about mental speculation? Oh, these bodily conditions are acquired due to the conditioned soul's mental speculations. Due to, you could say, sometimes Prabhupada uses the word speculation in like an older type of English, you know, our thought processes, you know.
Right, like we're choosing this, and because of that, we get a reaction. We make a lot of choices, and then you get a different type of body.
We're desiring.
Mm-hmm. These sufferings and pains are sometimes mixed. Sometimes they're very severe. Okay. The body, he uses his mind and 5 senses to acquire knowledge. And these bring about the different bodies and different conditions. Okay. What did I think about to get this body? Isn't it interesting to think like that? Like, what was I thinking about? I got this.
What exactly was it?
Couldn't I have done better than this? Sometimes
there's our desire, and then that's combined with our karma,
actions,
like how we've behaved in the past, and then we get this.
Using senses under the control of the external energy Maya, the living entity suffers the miserable conditions of material existence.
So we're given certain equipment to try to enjoy this world, just like in a virtual reality.
He is actually searching for relief, but he is generally baffled.
Oh.
Although sometimes he is relieved after great difficulty. Okay, yeah. Struggling for existence in this way, he cannot get the shelter of pure devotees who are like bumblebees engaged in loving service at the lotus feet of the Lord Vishnu. Did you ever read something in the Bhagavatam Kastuba where you're like, this is the absolute truth? This is I just had that experience reading this thing. I was like, this is so insightful. Like, if you just try it on and see if it works for you. Just try it. Give it a chance. We've tried on so many ways to view the material world. You got to work hard and then you'll get it. And money doesn't grow on trees and life's a beach and whatever different philosophies we put in our head. Like you got to raise a family. Try the Bhagavatam's philosophy and see if it works and see if it fits and see if it makes sense. See if it answers your questions. I had one of those realizations after reading this verse just now.
I always think back to when you were getting interviewed by Joe Rogan. And there's one point where he's like, yeah, but people are saying like this world is this place of suffering. It seems great to me, Remember that?
Yeah, that's a perfect example of
one eye vision.
Well, he, for all his, depth, he is a very deep person. When you have so many wonderful things happening, good karmic things happen to you in this lifetime, it's hard to really see the other side.
Where some people are living in that other side so deep.
And then problem with this, he discusses on a regular. He discusses pain and human trafficking and the suffering of different people in different countries. He brings on professional, but still, when life for you is really wonderful, it's hard to
sign a contract for $100 million for making a few podcasts a week with celebrities, and you're not physically diseased, and you're not at this moment.
You're healthy, you're attractive, you have everything you need.
So that's like a very rare. We've all probably been there at some point in some life, right?
Maybe, yeah, or in this lifetime for a week or a day.
Yeah, and then it starts to, then you start to come through that other end, and a lot of people, why are so many people going to psychiatrists, right? If 39.5% of the people are getting diagnosed with cancer, it means either you get that diagnosis or someone near to you is getting that diagnosis. Maybe once in life, maybe several times in life.
It's another interesting way to put it.
Okay,
and maybe you don't get the card, the Ace of Spades, or you don't get that, but you get friends who are getting it.
And then the world becomes very dark, and then you may go through a very long dark period, and then you may struggle with depression, due to other circumstances and other reasons. And for a lot of people, they'll go through periods of their lives, or their entire life may be a struggle with depression, with seeing the world as only dark. That
there's light, people.
I don't find happiness.
There is light, people. We got good news for you. There is light.
But what is it? But can we?
You're going to say no. There is no light.
Well, no. My point is no. But can we look at the darkness and get the message that we're meant? Can the 3D vision emerge for us? Right.
Right.
The 3D
Whenever there's great suffering too, it sometimes beats us down so hard that we can't even extend our hand to reach for the light. We just you get caught up in like a cyclical downward spiral.
Yeah.
And that's why they say this whole idea of the demigods have it so good. There's no pinch to move forward. They don't hit a rock bottom. They've got nothing to spring off of necessarily. And sometimes if people are in incredible pain, they don't have the leisure or the even the ability to question the peace of mind, to question, why am I here? They're like running for their lives. And that's why again and again, you'll hear this phrase that this human birth is an ideal time to take spiritual life very seriously. The demigods miss the boat often. And those in the lower planets, they're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
We're in a very, very unique opportunity right now. If you have a good, healthy body right now, and you have a little bit of time in your hands, here's a great opportunity for you guys to take this information. It's not our information, it's ancient information. Apply a little bit to your life, see how it works for you. And then from there, step forward. It's a great opportunity.
Okay. You're a human being. It's great on Earth. Great opportunity.
You're a human being. We're just confirming that in case you didn't know that.
But I'm just saying it's a way of looking at it, right? If you are a human being on Earth right now, you've got a great opportunity. Don't miss it. Don't squander it.
That reminds me of the first night I ever spent in a temple, where I didn't even really believe any of this stuff. I just wanted to stay in a temple. And there was a new guy preaching to me, Bhakta Jason. And he just said, Bhakta Ray, you've given millions of lifetimes to Maya. just give this one to Krishna. I was like, what if there's only one? Sometimes we talk like people believe this stuff already. Come on, you're in a human life. What else are you going to do with your life?
But it worked. Somehow you're believing that now.
Back to Jason. He was wise.
Okay, text 2.
Isn't it interesting that like, devotees will always say these sometimes like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But after a while, it's like, well, I could believe that. I could believe that.
Believing it.
We've been in 8,400,000 species of life. Have I been? Maybe. Maybe. At first, we're like, no, I haven't. Maybe I have.
You know where I went to yesterday, Ragnar?
Where?
The Natural History Museum opened up a new
Wing.
Yeah. Which has a library, a great new library for just like great place to study. And it's just a few blocks from the place. But they have like, it's like the new thing is like insectorium.
Oh, God. Talk about miserable life.
It's a whole nother universe there, you know?
Of insects?
Yeah. All different kind of forms, struggling in different ways, doing all this work, you know? Fighting, biting. Yeah, it's
Carrying bodies over their heads.
yeah,
so
all
they
kind
can
of stuff.
digest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Text 2.
Text 2. Thank you. In the forest of material existence, the uncontrolled senses are like plunderers. The conditioned soul may earn some money for the advancement of Krishna consciousness, but unfortunately, the uncontrolled senses plunder his money through sense gratification. The senses are plunderers because they make one spend his money unnecessarily for seeing, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, desiring, and willing. Yeah, people. Yeah, let's go out and do this. Yeah, let's do that. Let's buy this. Let's go. Just spending. You work so hard to make that money.
So hard to get that money,
And
and
you
to spend on all these things that don't give you happiness ultimately. Anyway.
In this way, the conditioned soul is obliged to gratify his senses, and thus all his money is spent.
I went
This
to
money
Disneyland.
is actually
you know, how much does someone spend if they go to Disneyland? I don't even know.
It's a lot.
It's like if you bring 2 kids, you bring a husband, wife, 2 kids, the flights, the lodging and accommodations, the prices of going in there. I have no idea, but I'm sure it's like a ton of money, right?
It's a ton of money.
Walk away.
It's a ton of money. It's also in
$1,000.
Florida, so you're dying in the heat.
Yeah,
and unless you buy like the VIP ticket, the gold ticket, whatever, the lines are out of control.
Have you been there?
I've never been there.
Okay, but yeah, from what I hear, and then you're eating all this junk food. The kids are getting sick. They're waiting in line. They're suffering. The kids are
I
complaining.
never took my kids. I took my kids to Waterfalls. That was their
Disneyland. That's a better way to go.
You know, it's a better way to go, I find. Oh, I take them to New Lebanon Valley Speedway. Thank you, Mara, for reminding me. I take them to the stock car races and drag strips too, because they like. I remember taking Tarun. He was like 3 years old to the racetrack, and those cars.
You
started
instilled the desire in him then, because he didn't even have it.
What's that?
You just instilled it in him. He wouldn't have never even known about it if you would.
Those are fun.
I think you're the one that's having fun.
I'll take you to the racetrack next time you come up here.
I don't want to go. I really.
You would
don't.
like it. You would like it.
I don't think I would.
Monster trucks, come on, Castiba, come on. Anyway, my point. What were we just talking about? I had something important.
How like you have this picture, like you go out and earn all this money so that you can enjoy and be happy. Now I'm going to bring my family to Disneyland. It's going to be so wonderful. Right. Was it wonderful? Was it really that wonderful?
Here's what you have to do. Everybody has to do this. YouTube search Jim Gaffigan Disneyland. Okay. Jim Gaffigan, the comedian, does a great little spoof on Disneyland.
All right, so he saw it with the.
He saw it with transcendental vision. Like, I'm spending all this money here. I'm incredibly hot and sweaty. My kids are complaining like anything. Right. Yeah. I was going to send them to college. Instead, I took this trip.
So what this chapter is saying is, like, you call it Disneyland, right? Which basically is saying it's a fantasy world that you go to for enjoyment. Well, this world is kind of the same thing, right? We fantasize about how enjoyable it'll be, and we go into it, and it's not always that. It's a lot of other stuff too.
Or did we skip a chapter? Did we skip chapter 13? And we read it.
Come on, wake
I'm,
up.
I'm not saying this. People on the message board are saying
We
it.
said that last. We went through it in one day.
Okay.
I'll be clear now. What we're doing is the text 1 through 20 in chapter 13 was all the analogies that we're hearing now about there are plunderers. There are, there's this, there's that. In this chapter, and what Prabhupada did was he built, the way the Bhagavatam works is in those 20 verses, you hear all these metaphors, but you're not told what they represent. And in this chapter, you're told what they represent. But what Prabhupada did was he built, in the previous chapter, he kind of built into the translations what they represent.
Mm.
And so it's kind of like reading the same thing twice. So I thought, okay, we'll summarize that thing and
Gotcha.
we'll get the whole message just by reading this chapter.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's get into this. I want to hear about more misery in the material world.
All right.
See if we can relate. Text 3. My dear King, family members in this material world go under the names of wife, children, husband, but actually they behave like tigers and jackals.
Yeah.
A herdsman tries to protect his sheep to the best of his ability, but the tigers and foxes take them away by force. Similarly, although a miserly man wants to guard his money very carefully, his family members take away all his assets forcibly, even though he is very vigilant.
He's trying to build that nest egg.
Yeah, sometimes parents know this. Sometimes the kids treat you like you're an ATM machine. Hey, Dad, can I borrow $20 for what? I just need $20. That's true. Kids are expensive, like man.
Yeah, they're behaving like tigers and jackals.
Even in a nice way. It's just like they may not be like, let me borrow this, let me borrow that. Right. Just to maintain a kid. The kid's got to go to school. You got to get a car. They need car insurance. They need a cell phone. I need a cell phone. I need a cell phone with a good plan. I need, yes.
It trains you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Text 4.
Sometimes. Every year, the plowman plows over his grain field, completely uprooting all the weeds. Nonetheless, the seeds lie there and, not being completely burned, again come up with the plants sown in the field. After being plowed under, the weeds come up densely. Similarly, family life is a field of fruitive activity. Yep. Unless the desire to enjoy family life is completely burnt out. A big statement, ready? It grows up again and again. Even though camphor, and this is the analogy, even though camphor may be removed from a pot, the pot nonetheless retains the aroma of camphor. Yeah. Right? How many people use camphor? I use camphor every day. Welcome to Krishna consciousness, where camphor becomes part of your life. As long as the seeds, I don't even know what you use camphor for outside of doing deity worship. What do people use camphor for?
You can use it in medicines like tiger balm and stuff like that. It has camphor in it.
All right.
Right.
And it's got a strong scent. Yeah.
It's got a effervescent kind of aroma, right?
Effervescent?
Yes. Yes,
Raghunath. Okay. As long as the seeds of desire are not destroyed, fruitive activities are not destroyed. Okay. Like they're really pushing us towards you must be 100% materially exhausted. You must see there's no hope in the material world. Your only hope is in your spiritual life. They're pushing you to that limit. The Bhagavatam is not giving you an inch or a centimeter here. Yeah. You've got to understand that everything, even the great things that you have in this life, you've got to go even deeper and deeper and deeper to understand you're not the controller. It's not meant for you to be the center, right? Your life is here for a moment in time. And it's like one of those games where you're carrying it. Ever play this as a kid? You got a spoon in your mouth, you're carrying an egg, and you got to run. That's our life. We're like there's a toddler with a spoon in his mouth. We're the egg. Our life, a toddler running with a spoon in his mouth.
Uneven earth.
Another dangerous game parents have their children do. But at any minute, things can fall apart. right? Me and Mara were just on a Joppa walk 2 days ago,
What
and
happened?
we saw like this 18-wheeler like flip over.
Oh,
So,
man.
like that guy wasn't planning it that day, and there's no way he could have got out easy from that thing. But the thing is, things can
You
reverse.
pay money to go and see that kind of thing.
No, we didn't pay for that. We
No,
saw it
but you
on the
do with
highway.
monster truck thing.
Monster truck. People are. Oh yeah, the interesting thing was hauling a bunch of cars that had been in accidents, and then it got in an accident. Yeah. So my point being is we are that egg. Our life is tottering on a spoon in a toddler's mouth who's running through an uneven field, and we feel safe for a moment. I mean, if we are actually wise, we'd be in total anxiety.
With the material eye.
With the material
and with
eye,
the spiritual eye, we should feel entirely secure.
Entirely secure, because we have to realize that our real joy is from an inner connection, and that's where we are getting goaded towards, pushed towards with the Bhagavatam. Take shelter of nothing else, people. Take shelter of your spiritual life.
Thank you for that message, Rana.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes it's the obvious. Well, I take share. I eat an extra slice of cake. I eat I have a Coca-Cola in the morning. I have a glass of whiskey at night to take the edge off, or a glass of. Take shelter of nothing else. So eventually, we start by stripping away these fake shelters, the intoxicants, or drugs, or
when I was growing up, I mean, maybe it is still that way, but when my father came home from work,
he just poured himself some whiskey, my dad.
That was the deal.
He just sat down at the
every
table
house had a bar, and you come home from
every house had a bar.
Right.
Like, who were these lushes that were our
What kind of world
parents?
were we living in? Every house had a bar. It was just like a little cabinet, right?
No, it was like a dry bar. My father had it.
It had like a whole thing you could sit at and everything.
Whole things of alcohol to choose from. Pour himself,
as a little
and he
kid.
didn't just pour himself like a shot of whiskey. He poured himself multiple drinks.
Yeah, that was the way you did it. You come home. I remember as a little kid, it was like this little cabinet that was like, it would sit on the ground, right? And I would crawl around, and I would open that cabinet up, and I'd look at all those bottles,
All the so
What is
many
this stuff?
bottles.
It smells so bad, Right.
Yeah. And sometimes as a child, I'd take a little sip, and I was like, oh, how could they
It's
drink
horrible.
this? Horrible stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to take the
Vermouth.
edge off. I get material life. You need to take the edge off material life. Bhagavatam is recommending a different way to do it.
Okay, that's right. There you go.
Those ways, you need to take it off. We get it. It's prickly. It's a prickly pear.
Okay.
So you got to take the edge off, but there's better ways to do it. That's all. That's all.
right.
We're not saying don't get rid of the edge.
Take the edge off.
Take the edge off. You know what we've been doing a lot in this house? We do some kirtan in the evening. We do some
There you
kirtan in
go.
the evening. You sit around and do a little kirtan at nighttime. It's nice. Set up an altar in your house. Take the edge off.
Yeah.
If there's other people in your house, and you need a secret altar. You do a little reading at night.
It doesn't even have to be secret.
It doesn't have to
you're
be
saying
secret.
if there's other.
I'm saying if there's other people and you're sort of like, what are you doing? There's a lot of people out there like, I'm very serious about my spiritual life. But then they got like a chief pag in their life who wasn't a spiritualist, right? Lori Pag got a chief pag. So Lori's like tiptoeing around with her secret altar in the closet or some like secret room in the house that no one knows about. And then all of a sudden, Chief Pag's transcendental conversion, burning
Discovery.
bush, something happened to him where his great white light hit by the white light. And then the whole house is like that now. But at one point, sometimes we're in partnership with a person who's like, I don't get you, whatever, do your magical, mystical, crystal thing, light your incense. So you have to sometimes do it. We can't all look at Kostuba's house back there. It's like you're living in a temple.
It's a
We can't all do that. We can't all do that. Sometimes we have to be a little on the down low.
Okay, text 5.
Okay.
Brother. It's getting darker. It's getting thicker.
Text 5, getting darker. Okay. This is sort of fun now. Now that we prepped everybody for
It's kind of fun.
For
all the
hell.
darkness in life.
sometimes the conditioned soul in household life, being attached to material wealth and possessions, is disturbed by gadflies and mosquitoes, and sometimes locusts, birds of prey, and rats give him trouble. That's New
Rats.
York. You got a rat problem, don't you? I heard.
They never have given me any trouble, though, honestly.
They do.
I
You
mean,
just
if I had
won't-
to
you
sleep in
won't
the
admit
park,
it.
then I would be afraid, right? If
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
had to, it's gonna
They'll
come
attack
on me.
a sleeping person,
And nibble.
nibble at you. Gadfly. Well, I will say it is May, and there are mayflies here.
Mayfly. What's a gadfly exactly?
I don't know what a gadfly is, but mayflies are little, tiny, little annoying flies that fly. It's almost as if
gnats?
they go right into your eyeball.
Oh, it happened to me yesterday. I was riding a bike and I had to a little
Mayflies.
gnat go right into my eyes. Like,
I know. I was riding my motorcycle yesterday. It was so nice out, and it was just like bing, 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 bing. So many things just dying against my skull. Okay, here's a gadfly. Any various fly.
Oh, okay.
Such as a horse fly, a bot fly, or a warble fly. Okay,
Okay.
what's a bot fly and a warble fly? That bite or annoy livestock. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, we got
yeah.
those. We got those horse flies.
But I'd imagine if you go deep into the jungles, there's different flies. And you're like, oh man.
Oh yeah. If you're from northern Michigan, that's where they have these giant. It's one season a year the black flies come out. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, put it on the board. They have one season, 1 month, and they start. You can't even go outside. They just attack you and bite you. Yeah.
Okay. Continue. So rats are giving him trouble.
All right. Nonetheless, he still wanders down the path of material existence. Due to ignorance, he becomes lusty and engages in more fruitive activity. Because his mind is absorbed in these activities, he sees the material world as permanent, although it's temporary, like a phantasmagoria, a house in the sky. That is great, isn't it?
Poof.
Yeah. This is the big illusion. Like, hey, this whole thing is permanent. You just got to work harder. You're not working hard enough. You'll make it. You'll figure out all the problems of life. You won't. You won't figure it out.
Okay.
There is no material hope. There's no material hope, people. That would be a great thing for the back of a t-shirt. There's no material hope, but there's tons of spiritual hope. That's the good news here.
Sometimes.
I wonder, where did Christians come up with that? The good news.
It's the good news.
The good news. That's a Christian thing, isn't it?
It's probably there. It's probably a biblical term.
The good news.
The gospel. Okay. Yeah.
Gospel, the good news. Sometimes in the house, sometimes in this house in the sky, right? This is like
this vision of enjoyment that we have.
This vision, everything's perfect. We just got to iron out these couple details. Then we're going to set, and our retirement's going to be great, and everything will just work out smooth. Sometimes in this dream, this house in the sky, because the conditioned soul drinks, eats, and has sex. How dare they? Being overly attached, he chases after objects of the senses, just as a deer chases a mirage in the desert. Sometimes you see this if you travel in the United States. If you go into the desert, you'll just see this animal skeleton because it keeps looking for water. It sees water's right there. So it goes farther and farther and farther into the desert. Every time they approach the water, the pond moves back because it's not actually real.
It's something to do with the heat on the surface of the earth makes everything wobble a little. And so, that's a reflection on water.
It's a reflection. Like if you drive in the, Nevada, you'll see ponds of water, and then you get there and the whole thing shifts backwards. It's quite fascinating. That is material existence. It seems like you just got to try a little harder. You're not working. You got to work. You got to work smarter, not harder. But it just keeps you working for the things that won't actually satisfy you. Even if you got them all, it's going to be like, now what? What's next?
And then it's like, it was all a mirage. It's like, that perfect moment. Like, let's say like people dream. I think especially women have, their wedding day. Right, they're waiting for that day. The guy gets married.
Don't do this to me. Don't go into wedding fails.
No, I'm not
All
talking
you got to
about-
do is Google wedding veils if you
It's
want
not
to
the
see a
wedding
perfect.
itself that I'm talking about. It's the marriage that I'm talking about, but it's represented that moment of the wedding, right? And it's like, and then you're doing the dance and it's playing that song, like at last, like my love has come along, and this whole thing, right? You have this whole vision of this perfect world, but that's a mirage. It's like it's just the beginning of like a lot of struggle. There's going to be like it
Well,
doesn't.
anyone who's been divorced
Yeah.
knows all this stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, even if you're not, it's just like it isn't all just one big ballroom dance. It's going to be struggle that's going to be there. Struggle in earning a living. Struggle. Hey, we're getting kicked out of our apartment. Hey, my business is going under. Hey, we're arguing now. Hey, it's like it's a mirage. That picture that we have. That the movies sell us. It's a mirage.
Bhagavatam again is cutting through the romance of material existence. Ever feel like I just live in a romantic world? I polished everything to be nicer than it actually is. And I think it's almost like some protective thing to just keep us going in the material world. Bhagavatam starts to puncture all that, strip away. It's like a paint stripper. What's underneath all this stuff? That no.
And,
really analyze what marriage is. Really analyze what having a kid is.
And let's
really
be clear,
analyze.
It's not saying that there's not that a marriage, can't be a wonderful union and a valuable union in so many ways, and even a pleasant union in so many ways. But let's remove that mirage of like perfect happiness found through this union, right, where one is completing the other. No, that's not, doesn't work that way. As long as you're thinking that way, and that goes back to our nugget, to C.S. Lewis. As long as you're thinking that this world is my heaven, it becomes hell, right?
See the world for what it is,
and
and
if
see
you
the
see it
spiritual
as,
world for
oh,
what
this
it
is my
is.
training ground, and we're being trained together.
It's a better
Then
way
that
to
union can become so valuable.
I know. Sometimes I think all these are like positive mental attitude type of things, or the life. What is it called? The life is good T-shirts. Life is good. It's like you're setting everybody else up to fail. Material life is riddled with pain, but our spiritual life is real and joyful. I've experienced it. I've experienced spiritual life in the material world, and that's what I want to work hard for. I want to work hard on my spiritual life.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Life is good. Like, man, what am I doing so wrong that he's got the shirt that says life is good? He did it. I just got to work harder. That life is good T-shirt, that is just like, that is the mirage in the desert.
Okay.
Run
out of
after.
time, Roga.
Okay, sorry.
Overtime.
Hi, Miss Mara. Did you take notes, or were you just merely knitting?
I always take notes, Prabhu. Usually. I got some good stuff today.
Okay.
We're all walking around with an eye patch on, trying to see 3D images.
Yeah, and nothing's manifesting.
This isn't meant to be paradise. It's university.
Oh, okay.
Oh, very good.
Nice.
Try on the Bhagavatam's philosophy.
Try it on.
Our human birth is the ideal time to take our spiritual life seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Get
Great
serious.
opportunity.
Or human being on earth, you've got a great opportunity.
There you go.
That one too. Don't let the uncontrolled senses spend our money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids.
Okay. Jackals.
We need to take the edge off material life, take shelter of your spiritual life and nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Bhagavatam cuts through the romance of the material world.
Chop, chop.
Marriage isn't all a ballroom dance.
Oh, it is. You're looking at it you're too negative.
Remove the mirage.
Dance with me. I want to be your partner. What was that song yesterday? I was like, I got to sing this song during the show.
Oh. I can't quite recall.
We were singing it at the dinner table.
Mara, it is your job when he says something like that, nip
Shut
it
him
in the
down.
Bud. Yeah, nip it in the bud. Just like, no, Raghunath, that is
Don't
not a good
indulge
idea to
in
sing
it.
the song on the show. Mara knows exactly what song it is, but she's not reminding you what it is right now. You see, that's the truth. I can tell.
I know exactly what's on.
And
And
our life is an egg tottering on the spoon of a toddler.
oh,
Toddling on a spoon of a toddler. Tottering. Toddling.
tottering.
Potato. Our life is a potato tot.
Tater
He's a
tot.
tater tot, toddling on a spoon of a toddler. Tater tot, toddled. 10 toddlers.
Tottered.
10
Tater
teetotaling toddlers. Toddled
Toddled
a
tater tots.
tater
on top
tots.
of their tottering.
10 toddling teetotalers.
22.
22 total teetotalers. Okay, toy boat. Okay. Thanks everybody for joining us. Every day we're here with the Srimad Bhagavatam. But we didn't do it yesterday, so it's not every day, but it's pretty much every day. Every day yesterday we were like, oh my God, no show. What the hell do we do with our lives? That is a good way to feel, I think. Without the Bhagavatam, we should be like, what are we doing with our lives without the Bhagavatam under our belt? Hopefully you guys went back and did some listening to back episodes. You can do that. Hey, I want everyone to go to YouTube right now. Besides looking up Jim Gaffigan and Disneyland, or Jim Gaffigan and Disney, go to our YouTube channel and write a comment on any of the episodes. Subscribe to our channel, like it, follow it, hit the ding-a-ling, the bell icon. Do that. You go to Apple. These are simple ways to support us. And tell friends about this stuff. If you like that, you could go and you could share the YouTube video to your friends. Let this stuff grow organically. Let somebody be like, man, I was going through hell, and Bernadette Fortuna and Chapu or Sega, you know what they did today? They sent me I really needed this. They sent me a link and it really helped me. That is good.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everybody for all the love. It's a beautiful day. Happy Monday, everybody. It's going to be a great week.